Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here with a brand new idea I came up with. I was driving around listening to this new CD I got of an old band that I used to like back in the day. And I thought, it's really a shame that not too many people know about this band. And I was like, what if I started making a few episodes about all these, I don't know, call them hidden gems or overlooked gems? And so that kind of kicked off an idea. I started going through my collection of stuff that I thought was some of my favorites from years ago, or maybe even kind of recent, maybe. But stuff I used to listen to that kind of inspired me to write and inspired me to make music over the years is kind of like the idea of the whole thing. And even though that CD is not my first option, we'll be talking about that one in a coming up episode, if that's what we want to call these. The first one I actually chose is called Tamplin. Tamplin is the band name of the band led by Ken Tamplin, and some of you may know Ken Tamplin from the Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy that he's really popular for on YouTube. He makes a lot of videos about singing and comparisons of older songs, cover songs to newer cover songs, singers from earlier in the career to how they took care of themselves later on in the career. He's kind of made a name for himself for that recently, but back in the day he was in a band before that called Shout. But I got into him with this album. It was called Tamplin. Came out in 1993. Back in that late 80s, I was in a Christian rock band myself, and so that's kind of how I got introduced into Christian music. And I had heard of him, but I never really gotten anything by him until this one, which was 1993. The band also features David Raven on drums. It's Robert Kent on bass and Scott Van Zen on lead guitar. Yes, I'm reading this off the cassette interlay here because that's how I bought it. It was on cassette. Back in, I don't know, whatever year that's open, I don't remember. There was a Christian bookstore that used to have tape set up in it, and you could go in and grab a tape off the samplers, and you could plug it into the little tape deck they had there at the store, and you could put some headphones on and check them out first before you bought them, so you knew what you were really buying. It was like kind of the first of its kind, and so you weren't really just taking a chance. You actually got a chance. You could listen to the whole thing if you wanted to, but I didn't. I already knew what it sounded like on this one, but I remember actually popping it in, checking it out before I bought it, and thought, oh, that's pretty cool. So I bought it. It's on the the Benson label, which was a Christian label. The one thing I've noticed about all these bands back that were on the Christian labels back then, they all had a very similar sound, and I can't really describe it. It didn't have that huge sounding sound like a lot of these bands had, like the Rats and the Poisons and the Warrants. They had more of a tighter, brighter sound to them. Like a lot of these labels, like they must obviously probably all use the same mastering house or whatever. This CD was actually produced, engineered, everything by Ken Tamplin. He actually plays rhythm guitar on this as well. All the songs are written by him, except for a couple that were co-written by Scott Van Zen, the guitar player. I'm not going to go through like song by song on these. I'll just kind of give you an overview of what they kind of sound like. It's a rock album. It doesn't really fit with any comparison to any other band I could think of, which is kind of like why I chose this one as kind of a challenge to try to describe it, but it also was one of my favorite cassettes back in the day. It's a rock album. It's very upbeat. It's Christian, obviously, but the one thing I liked about his lyrics is it's not like pounding, this message, beating you over the head with it. It's kind of just tells stories, maybe anecdotes, mixtures of, ways of telling positive messages without like really shoving it down your throat. And that's kind of I thought was inviting to people that maybe might have been turned off by that, but would listen to this anyway. The production on it is very tight. It's very produced. You don't hear mistakes. I almost thought the drums was a drum machine. It was so tight and produced, but this is an actual drummer on there. They have a very unique sound of themselves. It's almost like bouncy, but hard rock at the same time. And it's very melodic, very huge vocals. I mean, he's a monster singer. And he has a very unique style of his own, even though he teaches you how to sing and sound like other people. He has his own unique sound, so that's another thing I liked about his voice. It's very rich, a very soulful sound. These songs have a very soulful feel to them while still being rock at the same time. But like I said, the production is very, very tight is the only way I can think to describe it. There's no mistakes. The one thing I probably, now that I'm more into music and I know more about things, I would have maybe have liked to have heard a little bit more, open sounding music on it instead of being just so incredibly tight. You'd have to listen to it to understand what I'm saying. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. I haven't really looked myself, but it's a really good cassette. Although I don't even know if it's available on CD. I haven't really looked. But if you have the chance to check out anything by Tamplin, I've got all his other CDs too. They're all amazing. But this just happens to be the first one that I got into. Most of the other ones are just his name, Ken Tamplin. But this is I think the only one he did as a band. I don't know. You might want to correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's worth checking out. So appreciate you checking in and checking this out. Be sure you like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, and share it. And go check out some of Ken Tamplin's music. I'm gonna be making a few more of these. Feel free to check out these CDs. I wish I could play the music, but copyright and all that stuff on YouTube won't let me do any of that. So you're just gonna have to check it out for yourselves and just give it a listen. Appreciate it stopping by. Thanks. Talk to you later.